Um, Boys and girls, all of you, welcome to class number 4. And I have possibly 80% of all the groups have been evaluated. Mixed reactions, very good. Some of you have been very good, and I'm sure some of you have been a little lazy. So I don't think, not that it's not been good. Some of you have been a little. So I will try to catch up with you. Generally on the WhatsApp group, I might be able to, by looking at against your phone number some name or something, I might be able to find out who you are, and then I might if required, drop in a personal note to you all saying that what I thought about your presentation. So if you've just your number, then I don't know how to reach you, but we'll see that. So that done, 3 classes down, 9 hours down. We're almost towards the end of a reasonably important segment in our journey on marketing, and we've all been doing B2C, and B2C standing for business to consumers. Nice, right? Yeah. So where you're more worried about the end user being an individual, and we looked at what his emotions are, what are his thinking process. We also said that Maslow's pyramid, if you all remember, Maslow's pyramid also talked about what does the individual think. Um, so in today's class, we'll go beyond B2C, because most of us are, unless and until we are into selling FMCG products or products which are close to FMCG, most of us are actually doing a lot of B2B business and not necessarily B2C business, which then means that, and you would notice that B2B, I will of course explain through the next 3 hours. B2B is more complex and all that stuff. So we'll finish that. But I have one small tail end. That's what I called my mm, this presentation as one small tail end on B2C. We'll just complete that and then we'll go forward. See, in B2C, lots of things are happening. We are trying to get in touch with the unknown user because we don't know who is that user. We don't know who's likely to buy my next phone. We are not sure who is that individual who's going to be downloading my app, or who's going to use my Swiggy service, or who's likely to walk into my store. So I need to reach out, and I need to sometimes reach out blindly because I don't even know where they are. So I have a website, I have social media, and of course I have service centers. I have may I help you touch points. If you go to some store, you might have people walking all around the place and asking you, how can I help you, and all that. And then, of course, there are so many outlets that I really began by saying outlets. So, and it's not a one-way communication. You also want to reach out to the company. And so there are multiple modes in which you are communicating to each other. They are trying to reach you out, and you're also trying to reach them out. But over the years, we noticed that I wish I wish the relationship was slightly more organized. I wish the relationship was more modern. Why do I say that? I say that because I'm sure I'm not the only guy here. But then imagine you have a problem, or let's say you bought a product and the product is not working. You call that you dial the call center. They ask for lots of questions about you, and then somebody answers the call, and they again ask you the same questions. And I know that our calls get disconnected and the cycle starts. Every time it's so very frustrating for all of us that we have to keep explaining. I get tired of it, and then I send out an email. In the email, I need to read, describe the whole story. Somebody reads the email, will give you a call, and though he has read the email, he'll again ask you, can you, Srivatsa, can you do your verification, sir? What's your mother's name? What's the name of your cousin's third daughter? And all that stuff. And so, absolutely irritating. Again, it goes on. So, all of us have noticed that most of these companies, and actually not most of these companies, almost every other company has this kind of a disconnect in the way that each of these channels are trying to reach out to you. They're actually trying to be very nice. If you look at it, isn't you should get excited when you look at this. They're trying to reach you by email. They're sending you SMS. They have a WhatsApp thing. Then they have outlets, social media, advertisements. But still, there's a lot of disconnect between one media and the other. They are more like individual silos. Same thing happens when I want to buy a product. I see a product, I love that product, and then somebody told me that he liked the product, so I'll have to go visit the website, then maybe go somewhere else and do a review check to see if somebody out here actually liked the product. Maybe Pooja liked the product, so I want to get her opinion about it. Akhil may have another opinion on it. But then at each time, I need to go through a process, which is almost like the beginning. And then with doing all this, I walk into the store. When I walk into the store, they ask me, what do you want? And they show me every other model other than the model that I want to buy. And there's a lot of disconnect. I wish there was somewhere along a methodology in which all of this can get together. The moment I see an ad, maybe that's a bit too much, but once I visit a website, somehow the company should know that I visited the website, what did I like about the product, and they should have a certain amount of intelligence to make sure that the conversation starts off from where it left in one media to another media. What is happening present is that the conversation starts from the very beginning. Now, this way of interaction is a not very, very new, but a relatively new way of having interactions with the customer. And this is called omni-channel marketing. Multi-channel marketing is, as you can see here, if I can open up the screen a little bit more. So multi-channel marketing is where each of them are communicating to you. It's brilliant, but they don't know what happened during the communication, and there is no handover. There is no handover between one and the other. Omni-channel marketing would be a perfect handover. They know what you discussed with the other guy. They and then it then makes what it does is that it makes the whole process of closing a sale or closing a communication or closing a business discussion more perfect, because you're not going to be irritated since they're going to take off from where you left. Imagine you called somebody, or imagine you sent out an email, and 2 days later you called the company call center, and the moment they pick up your call, they said, oh yeah, hi Anita, I understand you called up. This is where we received your email even before you start the conversation. That will be delight, isn't it? So that what is known as omni-channel. uh, this is something that's more evolving. We don't see many companies doing this kind of a thing, but we'll see more and more of that coming up. So I wanted to have this tail end discussion with you all. Any questions that you have on omni-channel and multi-channel? If we are done, we could move forward. All good? Perfect. So now we come to a half end point. We come to a point where we can do. Is that somebody raise a flag or something? Um, yeah, we can move. Oh yeah, thanks, Srinivas. Okay, so I'm now going to give you what is known as a self-assessment, or even help me out with the assessment process, in the sense that I want you all to know, as we move to the next subject, how are you done so far? What's your learning? This is almost like a midterm self-assessment of how you have done. I'll give you all about. I don't think you need too much of time. It's very few questions asked, and I'm not going to. You're not going to be evaluated. Point number one. As a matter of fact, the exercise is to evaluate yourself and also give me a feedback as to how have I been taking you guys in this journey forward. So take about 10 minutes to run through this Google form, and then you guys can tell me how much you scored, and why do you think you scored a little bit less, or are you surprised by your own numbers? Good. So can we complete this in the next 10 minutes? Are you able to access it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're able to
Yes,
access it.
sir. Yes, sir.
Perfect. Go ahead, do it. I think
Yes,
it's
sir.
for 18 marks or something. Then I will open up another conversation for us. We'll go to a subject which is this.
Professor, did you put the link in the chat group?
I pasted the link, I thought. You have it, right? Or you want me to paste it one more time?
Unable to see that, sir.
It's there, Professor.
You have it? Yeah, I think you have it.
Yes, it is.
It is there. It is there. Those of you who have done that can start having an interaction with me. Now I not only see faces or names, I also have I now can link the faces to the names, because of the fact that some of you have answered and have reviewed your PPTs. I know you're all busy, but if anybody is done, how many of you have reviewed assignment 2, which is on the LMS? Too much to ask, right?
Not yet, Professor. I didn't get chance.
Does it connect to an answer sheet? Yes, it does. Okay. Gmail. Okay. Next. Okay, I see some. I see some marks.
Professor, I got 10.
Excellent. Uh, and reason why you didn't get 18? I see another one get 10.
I got few questions wrong, mainly in the match the following,
Yeah,
most in the match the following, and marketing segment.
marketing segment. Okay.
I got 13, Professor Abhishek. Yeah.
Abhishek, I can see that you got 13. Do you want me to flash the score on the page? Not necessary, right?
That's fine. You can share, please.
How much did you get, the gentleman who just spoke?
Uh, I didn't check so far.
Signing.
Sorry, I didn't check so far.
Oh, you didn't. 14 out of 18 from Bhargav. Hmm. Because it's a two-way analysis actually. It's also an analysis of how have I been communicating to you as well.
Professor, I got 11.
Professor, I got 12.
12, excellent.
I got 11 out of 18, Professor.
Oh, 11, that is that Chini?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
Srinivasan.
Mhm. Somebody got 14, Mukhtar.
Hello, Professor. Can you please send the link again? I'm not able to check.
No problem. But how do I?
महेश उसको दे देना महेश इसका चेक किया क्या
Chat. Yes, sir. Okay. There you go. Okay, is that time? Another 2 minutes will go. And 13, I'm 14.
Sir, in the
Yes, sir.
quick query. In the match these, what's the right answer for people? Because
Which one?
For people, match these. There's one question on match these. So I have marked something and it says it's wrong, and then correct answer does
For
not
the
have.
you match these for the 4 P's, huh?
No, it's price
From the
product
match
7 P's.
Yeah.
7 P's. Yep.
Yeah, actually, 7 P's, you got it wrong.
So I have got it wrong for 3 rows out of 3 people is showing wrong, but then in the correct answers also, there's no answer coming up.
Yeah, actually, on the 7 P's, I have messed it up.
Yeah, I think the people is correct because customer
Yeah,
services.
I have actually messed up the question layout. But then I thought I will leave it as it is so that somebody will point it out. Yeah. So the match on the 7 P's. I don't think I've rightly put up the answer choices correctly. Okay, so good that you brought it out. That's a good understanding that you have actually understood what the questions are.
So, Professor, one question I missed up. I got 9.
Which one?
I missed one question, but I got 9 correct out of all.
Oh, you missed one question, but you got 9. Okay, that's good. That's
Professor,
50%.
got 14.
14. Okay, why aren't there any 17s? Because you will never get in 18 anyway. Because you can never get in 18 because unless until you type a wrong answer for that question, because the answers itself was wrong. Anyway, good. This is for your own understanding and for myself. Now that I see that you guys are, most of you are, lots of you on 14s, there are lots of, what do I say is a good number? 9 is a good number. There's somebody who's got 5. I would take that as an exception. And 8 is, there are a few 8s, there are a few 9s, there are lots of 14s, there are lots of 13s and all that. Okay, good.
Professor, just submitted, Professor.
You just submitted. Where are you, sir?
Sir, even marketing mix answer, I doubt. Yeah.
So the 4 P's of marketing, is it product, price, promotion, and place?
Place, yeah.
Yeah, product, price, promotion, and place. Correct.
But that's coming up as a wrong answer, sir.
Yeah.
That's coming up as the wrong answer. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Then maybe I typed it out wrong. But that's good. If there's a wrong answer, that's the very fact that you pointed out to me it's wrong is, the professor can never go wrong, The professor is the...
Okay, sir.
I can always justify what I do. Okay, I can always tell you I did it on purpose so that you guys can point me.
Professor, I got 11.
Good. Okay, so that's good. Congratulations to all of you. And for those of you who haven't actually come out well, let's have a 2-minute conversation to understand one. And to generally to all of you, have you been able to follow my conversation good? Are you understanding the subject well?
Yes.
Very interesting.
Very interesting. Okay, so we are in the journey together, right? I mean, it's not like multi-channel marketing, right? So we are in communication. You understand me, I understand you. That's good.
It's a communication.
Okay, perfect. Let's move to the next subject. Astrologers in business. What is this? Do you have astrologers in business? Past indication. Okay, so are we done? Wind up your answers. You're not being evaluated. If at all there is anybody who is being evaluated, it's myself. And in a way, it's good, because I'm actually giving you answers, questions and answers which are coming out in the exam. There can be no better professor than this. But none of them will come the way they are. It gives you an idea of what kind of questions and answers they are. So it's more like a mock run through. And good. So even businesses. So let's move forward. Even businesses are always worried. I mean, every businessman is worried, right from the richest man and of course to the guy who's just making ends of his own business meet. Is always worried what's going to hit me next. Is always worried as to where should I take my path forward. And you've noticed that some businesses do well, some businesses do well for a while, and I don't know what happens. They just die, right? We've seen that businesses die, products die, and obviously companies die too. There are lots of companies which were there once upon a time, but now unheard of. But there are quite a few companies who have survived the pandemic of 1918, survived the Wall Street crash, survived 9/11, survived World War I, World War II, and still up there and smiling. Of course, they may have changed hands, but there are quite a few of them who haven't changed hands, continue to be under the same ownership of a family or an established entity. So it's always very important for companies to know how am I doing, and it's very, 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 very important for companies to look at what the business in the future is going to be. And at some point, Bill Gates mentioned that future is so hard to predict, even for a gentleman like Bill Gates. Imagine where are you and I? We don't know which way things would move. It so happens, incidentally, that I just remembered as I was talking, is that somewhere in December 2019, or maybe around that time, I was in conversation with two gentlemen, and they told me that they are investing into a three-storied or a four-storied structure, which is going to be completely meant for PGs, for IT guys, either in near Manyata Tech Park or somewhere else, and that it's one of the finest business to be in, and that I should consider pitching in time, money, resources, and all that. And yeah, and I thought it was unfortunate for me at that time, but eventually time turned out to prove me safer. I somehow was not able to move forward on that conversation, and we didn't take it forward. But in hindsight, you always know that that was a very wrong decision, and now PGs are like bhoot bungalows, right? They just nobody occupying them and everybody back at home. So, how do companies then plan up for the future? This said, what am I trying to drive you in? Let's see what I can do. So, your job as any company head, and especially if you are a manager who has a position, power, responsibility, and the freedom to make choices, you need to look at how your business would go forward. If any one of you remember day one, class one, first hour, I talked about a slide about the chai wala or the guy in the man Friday in your office who was worried about how many cups of tea has to be served, vis-a-vis your CEO who's least bothered about his tea, but worried about how do you think business is going to be 2025, 2026. So similarly, we all need to anticipate, visualize, predict as to how the business would go. And you always heard this phrase, and I'm not sure whether it's still a very valid phrase in the present business environment where you are. But every 3 months, every 6 months, the boss would appear into our offices and say, "I'm going to get rid of dead wood," which obviously means that some of you are going. And we would always say it's the dead wood who is talking about getting rid of us. Because so there you go. So we thought we were the smartest set of people, and the dead wood was actually the boss. So all the time, you know about what is the name of the gentleman from GE who's pretty famous?
Jack Welch.
Jack Welch, absolutely. Jack Welch had a very simple theory, and I actually love that theory. He said, "I get rid of 10% of the people. That's it. The bottom 10 goes." So it doesn't matter where Srinivas and Srivats are. If they're not in the bottom 10, it's good enough. Which then brings up to a joke or a business joke, or a joke on life. And I want to see which one of you can complete it for me. And two young guys were walking in the forest, and they saw a lion or a tiger trying to attack them. One of them bent down to wear his running shoes. And can you complete the sentence?
As long as he runs faster than the other guy, he'll be saved.
As long as he runs faster than, so he's least bothered. He said, "So how can I?" So that was Jack Welch, and as long as I'm not part of the 10%, I get along. And so that's what. So business always is worried about how. I don't think there's any businessman other than a few that we know who know how the world is going. And you look at the trends today. If you look at the trends today. There are case studies. We have more time. We'll talk about them. But you will also notice that should I go diesel? Should I go petrol? Or should I go EV? It's an easy decision for you as a B2C guy. I mean, Meghna, it's very easy. She'll just have to decide what is good, and she can make a decision. But for somebody who's into manufacturing, that's a whole lot complicated process. You have to have a totally different production lines, and lots of things that you're going to worry about, and you don't know how the government is going to be supportive. So that's one problem that you have, trends in business. So should I go to theaters or should I stream my movies, or how should I plan up my next movie or next media entertainment? Are the next holidays going to be at quieter places or at crowded places? Very hard. I mean, we may have some direction because of an event in December, Jan 2020, but if we didn't have that, we wouldn't know what it is. And I don't know how many of you have heard this. I was pretty excited by this idea that it's no longer BHK, 2 BHK, 3 BHK. Now it's about OBHK. Any idea what O stands for?
Office.
1 bedroom.
Office. So now not only do you want to have a 3 BHK, but you also want a section of your house which can work out as a small office for you so that you can cut yourself off. And possibly, if I understand the definition perfectly, it may have an exclusive entrance to your house as well. So just something that I put up this morning to get the conversation going. So these are things that every entity is worried about. I'm sure Mr. Mukesh Ambani is also worried. I mean, is this? Maybe you guys should start watching. Start watching one particular channel on YouTube. I'm pretty new to that. I'm pretty largely impressed by these guys. It's called Bisbo. Bisbo, B-I-S-B-O. You're going to hear that noise. Bisbo is very, very nice. He analyzes a business situation and puts it down very easy for you in a very pictorial sense. So you should sometime watch Bisbo, because Bisbo recently was saying, how is VI, which is Vodafone and Idea, how are they going to be, how do they plan to survive and all that? So I strongly recommend you guys to watch Bisbo on a YouTube channel. So this said, we are worried about few things, which is, how do I stay ahead of market? What do I worry about my competition? We'll also talk in possibly the last class, a subject called Porter's 5 Forces. And, the interesting part about marketing, or the interesting part about marketing management, unlike some of us who read engineering, read basics of electronics, mechanics and all that, most of the guys right from Newton to Archimedes, who came up with some basic theories, most of them are dead and gone. But in the case of marketing is such an evolving science that most of the guys who came up with very interesting theories are alive, bubbling, possibly very active even on Twitter and other social media. So one of them is somebody called Porter's 5 Forces. Michael Porter, if I get him right, was somebody who came up with 5 ways in which a company should be worried about. We'll talk about it in the other class. But right now, our conversation and worry is, how do I stay ahead of market? How do I keep my revenue running? What should I do to beat technology? And incumbency. Incumbency is something we all, where do you use the word? Where do you see incumbency most commonly used?
Technology.
In election.
Politics.
Politics. What does incumbency mean, Abhinandan? What does incumbency mean? Is that it's tiredness. You're doing a great job. But eventually we're tired of you. At the end of the day, you might be the finest Swamiji, you might be the greatest source of Guruji that we have in terms of 1, 2, 3, 4 and all that. But over a period of time, we get tired of them. And you just like how we got tired of the angry young man, or we got tired of Shah Rukh Khan over some time, he might still be doing well. But incumbency is something that's even a good company, a good party faces, because you get tired of it. So how do you stay ahead of such markets? That's what our discussion is going to be today. I want you all, I don't mind it being extremely noisy for the next 10 minutes or 3 minutes, but name these companies.
IBM, Casio, Kodak, Yahoo.
Yeah, and now Mervin, now let's get somebody else to do the other job.
Super Mario, Mises.
Netflix.
Okay, good. So what is this?
BlackBerry.
BlackBerry.
Okay, let me get some more.
Nokia.
Sony.
Nokia. Netflix.
Casio.
Which one? What about this?
Future Mart.
Future Group.
Future
Retail.
Okay, and the last one on my have it. Okay, I'm going to go with Chetan. Chetan, which is this?
DNB.
Sachin, what is this? Rajat, which one is this? How many of you got this right?
Accenture, Xerox.
That's not
Accenture.
Accenture is a 90-degree turn to that.
Satyam, I think.
Yeah.
This is Xerox.
This is Xerox.
Sachin said Xerox. That's pretty good. Very nice. And what is this?
Lemon.
What is that? Sarani Ghosh. What is this? Doesn't matter if you don't know.
Yeah, not sure.
Not sure. How many of you know this?
I think it's Satyam.
Satyam, so is it Satyam?
Okay, but how many of you got this right now?
Mises.
MySpace. Okay, perfect. Very good. All smart kids, as I would expect. By using the word kids, I think I'm adding few years to my age unnecessary. So I said all smart people would make me younger. So good. So all smart, very nice. But now tell me, the smartest among you, why did I choose to put them in 1, 2, 3, 4 columns? Why are they in different columns? Is because I pasted them, or do you think I used some logic?
The bottom right seems to be the ones which failed.
The columns, yeah, you go by columns, not by rows. Yeah.
Some are survivors and some are the ones who diminished with the age.
Okay, so some are survivors, some of them wind up, and what else?
Success rate. Evolved or dissolved.
Okay, good. That's exactly what I wanted. IBM, 100 and odd year old company, still alive and bubbling. But what was IBM's model then has changed today, right? I mean, IBM was doing a lot of other things 50, 60, 70 years back, and it does so back. And this is called, what is this?
Super Mario.
Super Mario, but the company would be?
Nintendo.
Yeah, the company would be Nintendo. Nintendo almost out of business, but then they came up with Pokemon Go. If you guys recall, if you have kids at home, or if you're a kid yourself at heart, Pokemon Go was a huge revival with augmented. What was that? Augmented GPS and all that stuff. How many of you did actually play? Right? And look at Wipro. Wipro is ever evolving. Wipro is ever evolving. One of the finest companies there. Wipro started off into vegetable oil products, and then they went into printers, they went into computers, our association, or my company's association with Wipro was something totally different. They started what is called WiproNet. They were one of the first pioneers in internet service provisioning. And we had the privilege of working with these guys, and very fine set of people, I must say. Wipro has good leadership and culture. They did that. Netflix, who doesn't watch Netflix today? But 10 years back or 15 years back, Netflix was the Americanized version of your cable opera, of your video parlor. You would go buy or rent the CD, and it would happen like that. But why have they survived? They have survived because they anticipated change or they reacted to change. If you look at Casio, at least to most of us, and especially those about the 40s, the first electronic item that we ever encountered was a Casio. The joy that we had when we had an FX70 scientific calculator was one of the greatest days in our lives. Or we bought ourselves a Casio watch. So Casio was one of the early inroads into an individual. And we always love our first car. We always love our first credit card. We always love our, I mean, let's stop at that. Okay. And so that said, these guys failed to take advantage of a position that they had as one of the early movers in business. And MySpace replaced MySpace with today.
Facebook.
Facebook. That's it. There is virtually no difference between MySpace and Facebook. Maybe my Facebook replicated itself on MySpace, but MySpace should have been there. Orkut should have been there. But why isn't it there? It's because they are not reactive to conditions. I mean, the story can go on. I'm not going to beat down every individual company, but I can just say this is housing.com. I don't know how many of you know housing.com. It came as a bang, and they had a maverick leader. I forgot his name, some Yadav or somebody, Rakesh Yadav or Rajesh Yadav or somebody.
There would be like look up, something like that ad will be there for that housing.com.
Yeah, so
it came everywhere.
But then he's gone. Satyam, a lovely company to work for. Satyam and Wipro were similar. Satyam, while Wipro approached us for their first ISP, Satyam was the first company to actually deploy private ISP services, always ahead of the market. And then they made a mess of themselves. So anyway, story is that companies can die. Companies can die if you are not watchful. So that said, I wanted to actually put it here, but now that I've opened it up, I said, how do companies survive? Companies survive if they start increasing their market penetration. They want to get into newer markets. They want to expand the market. My reach is only in Bangalore. Let me now go to other towns in Karnataka, or maybe I should go to other cities in the state or in the country. Or you must do market development. You only have a limited number of customers. How do I expand my customer base? That is one other thing. Now, my customers love me. The finest thing about my company is that my customers love me all the time. They believe that I take care of them well. They believe my products are carefully crafted, very well done. And but still, what should I do next? I serve the same customers more products because my customers have some relation with me, which means that I create more products for the same customers. Or as it always goes, let's bring in more customers for my existing products. The other thing to do is I seem to be good in preparing product A and all the versions of product A that can come in. Maybe I should diversify. No better example is where is oil and where is telecom, or where is Motorola's initial product line and where is their telecom solutions. So it happens all the time. Is that if you are able to visualize how world is, then these are the 4 things that you should always look at. Penetrate the market, get deeper into the market, develop the market. How do you develop the market? What happens when you get saturated? You look at the case of Ola and Uber. At one time, they were more worried about penetrating the market. They had to convince you that ordering a Ola or a Uber on your mobile is the best thing that happened to you. But once you got used to it, I don't know how many of you have this. That's called a foot massager or something like that, which they sell in the things, or you have that. What is it called? Which gives you a feeling of comfort on your legs, and the foot massager. It keeps pressing you very often. And lots of them buy the product, and if after a few months they start complaining. The reason is they feel that we are not enjoying the pressure that the the foot massager is giving. The only reason being is that your body starts adapting to that pressure. So over some time, that pressure is not good enough for you. So similarly, it happens to all the things. You need to go out of your customer base. You need to diversify into newer products. So this is what is the strategy that we are getting to discuss 4 basic concepts, which is product versus markets. And you see this matrix very well. The matrix is a beginning for a new type of conversation. And let's see how this conversation goes. Any questions so far, or are we doing good?
Yes, sir. I have a question.
Doing good. Okay.
Good. I have a question, sir.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So when we say, okay, a market development has to be done, penetration has to be done, but does this apply to every form of business? Because I do see there are certain businesses which are pretty much happy in their own domain and they're doing good throughout. I mean, simple thing is some small businesses like Vidyarthi Bhavan, they don't need to, kind of do market penetration or market development or even diversification of their product because they're pretty much okay with what they're doing.
Yeah, that's true. That's obviously true, but that depends on eventually. Okay, you took up the example of Vidyarthi Bhavan. Let's go ahead and look at it. Now, since incidentally I know them, the original owner, the father, pointed a gun at his son and said, "You need to quit your job and manage this business, otherwise we will not be able to continue to have a good market share and reputation in the market." Now, if this gentleman doesn't do anything else, eventually it is not enough for him as the size of the stakeholders grow. By that I mean that he's going to have 3 children and his children is going to have children. They all cannot live by one Vidyarthi Bhavan only. Yes, they may do something else which may have nothing to do with Vidyarthi Bhavan. That is the reason, if you guys look at it, there's only one MTR. There's only one MTR in Lal Bagh, but there are lots of MTRs 1924 or something like that. It's because you want to keep your branding separate. So if something goes wrong with MTR 1924, you say, oh, these outlets are not good, but the place is not there. Expansion is inevitable. Can you live in the same salary that you lived 5 years back? No. So you have to expand. You may expand with a new product line. You may diversify. The guy into Vidyarthi Bhavan may start selling mixers or whatever stuff that he might sell. But that is the way it works on. I hope I'm able to answer you.
Yes, sir. Because they don't want to become an Adigas. As far as I see, Adigas is someone who want to flourish. But
Yes,
I don't see
each of them
Vidyarthi Bhavan.
have. And I tell you, we'll go into an immediate next slide to discover why that happens. Let's look at it. Okay, so we have these 4 matrix, which you guys said you understand well. Make sure you understand well because something might have to be discussed on it. Which then comes up saying that there was this consulting group called Boston Consulting Group, which developed what is called the Bcg Matrix. Now, Bcg Matrix is going to be, oh my God, where did it go? Stop share. Yes, sorry, yeah. Why is this not coming? Sorry, I'll have to get back to this share. Okay. So BCG Matrix is a matrix that this consulting group, and they're a fine consulting group, very much alive and kicking. And one of the things that you can do, I'm more of a Twitter guy, I'm not much on other medias, but you should follow BCG because they're adding a lot of stuff all the time. And that's what I told you is the good thing about marketing, is a lot of evolving things. So BCG came up and said, we must come up with a formula in which we can help companies to analyze where they are, where they should put their money, where they should put their resources, where they should have their manpower focus on, so that the company continues to be staying ahead of the market. That said, they came up with few basic formulae, which then got adapted into a matrix. Now, to understand matrix, I mean, you can read this, I'll not go there. So, you know what is market share? Can anyone define what is market share? Somebody? What is market share? Sheikh Mahmood, if you can give me. If you don't know, it's perfectly fine. Or Soumya.
It's about companies' reachability and in the market.
What is okay, example?
We can say example as millions of subscribers to the telecom industry, telecom company.
Okay, anybody else can give me an example of market share?
Yeah,
So,
Pali.
Yeah. Market share is like for the particular domain in that industry. Out of 100, how much percentage the company is having the customer base? Yeah.
Okay.
Example, polypropylene is one of the polymers, out of which Reliance holds 60% of the market share.
Okay. So you're saying that out of 100 customers, if I have 10 customers, I have a 10% of the market share. But out of 100 customers, if I am able to get 60 of them, I have a 60% market share. So that's what you're saying is market share. Perfectly fine. Good. And what is market growth? What is market growth? We obviously have next slides going, but then I'm trying to make it interactive. What is market growth? Market growth is, okay, so there was market share. What is relative market share? Relative market share is something very different. So out of 100 people who are using the products, there are 2 or 3. Okay, now let's look at it very differently. By the end of June 2021, we are assuming that 30% of the world would have received vaccination. So the market share, and in a very, very rude, rudimentary manner, it would be that 30% of the population would have got some vaccination. So that's the percentage of people who have been vaccinated. Now, relative market share, now, if you understood that 30% of the people are going to be vaccinated, relative market share would mean that out of those 30%, 70% of them got Pfizer as the vaccine, 20% of them got Sputnik, whatever that is, and 10% of them have got the Bharat Covaxin or something like that. So now there is a new terminology which is coming as relative market share. What is relative market share? In the sense that the taxi transporting business in the entire transportation chain, that means people travel by metro, people travel by buses. I'll keep an eye on the clock. People travel by metro, people travel by buses, and all of that. So out of that, 50% of them use a app-based taxi solution. So the market share is 50%. Out of that, I noticed that Uber is a leader. So a relative market share is 70%. So if you get the two terminologies well understood, then we can move to the next verse. Is it clear? Okay. So now comes the market growth. Now, what is market growth? How did the market grow between last year and this year? Obviously, market of mobile phones have grown by 7%. So we can say that the market has grown by 7%. But if the market has grown by 7% and Apple has grown by 14% in Indian business market, then what does that indicate? That I have been growing within the industry, I have been performing better. That is what is the relative market growth, which obviously will start coming in there. But if it's not mentioned, it will start showing you up later on. So just like there is market growth and market share and relative market share, there's also market growth and relative market growth. Now, everybody would complain that it's been a bad 2020. It's been a bad 2020. People haven't done very well. And most of the companies have turned belly up. But among companies, that was one of the first questions I thought I asked you, is that who has profited from the pandemic? I thought, wasn't that my first question to you all in the Google form, if I recall?
Yes, sir. Yes, you have
Yeah.
asked this question.
So who has? Unfortunately, the company that Anita works for didn't do well. But in a similar sector, same thing, the company that Soumya worked for, they did well. So they were so excited that while the whole economy is going, I am doing better than. So, for example, in today's cricket match, a bad reference. I was just looking at the highlight of the scores. They had Mayank Agarwal listed at number 9 at 9 runs. So Mayank Agarwal 9 is bad, but that's the highest number among all the losers. So market relative share, market growth, and market relative growth are three things that I wanted to share about. Now comes a very important conversation saying that now you understood market growth, market relative growth, everything. How do you use all this to plan your future? You use, don't forget that we are all using the knowledge of Boston Consulting Group to do this exercise. So they came up with some very interesting terminologies. The terminologies are stars, question marks, cash cows, and dogs. They say that if you take all the products that you have in your portfolio, and every company has multiple products, right? Every company has multiple products. Dayanand Sagar itself has multiple products. They have an MBA division. They have recently started a medical college. They have engineering. They probably might even be having arts and science, or maybe they have something else. And actually, the Dayanand Sagar group itself is a brilliant example. They also have hospitals, and I don't know what else they have, but that gives you an idea of most companies having a diverse portfolio. So Boston Consulting Group said, look at all the things that you do and start naming them as stars, question marks, cash cows, and dogs. Now I can go next 10 slides and explain it, or I can stay here and have you all explain it to me. So what is a star typically? What do you think is a star? And give me an example of a star product in a company.
It stands out.
Stands out, okay.
The flagship product.
Which does really well.
Which does, whoever spoke that sentence, I want you to add one
flagship
more
product,
line.
sir.
Okay, listen. It does really well, and add one more sentence to it.
Very profitable.
It generates a good amount of cash.
That made good amount of cash. Okay.
It really well than other units.
Pardon?
That established the name for the company.
Establish the name for the company. Okay.
It's growing in both. It has a good market share as well as the relative market share is also good.
It's growing. Okay. Now you guys are making my life miserable by using a lot of words and sentences. Very nice. Okay. Now there is a
portfolio.
Okay, good. Stay where you are. So you said star is a top performer, correct? That's why they are stars. Not everybody is a star, right? I don't know how many of you would think. I can't think of some smaller names, but we leave it at that. So star is not enough. We need superstar, and then we got royal star or dashing stars and all that stuff. Okay.
Paisa Vasool.
Huh?
Paisa Vasool for the company.
Okay, Paisa Vasool. Oh no, hang on. Paisa Vasool is okay. Let's see. Now stars are. Hang on. Time out. Stars are those companies, those products which are doing very well, which are having high market growth and also have high relative market share, correct? They are not only, the sector is going very well, but they are also leaders in that sector. Example is what? Now give me an example.
Phones.
Asian Paints.
Asian Paints. Okay, Asian Paints. So, okay, good. Very nice example. I'll take that. Okay, let's stick to Asian Paints. Obviously, the paint industry is growing. There's no doubt about it. As long as your homes and as long as you want to color your homes, the sector will grow. Obviously, that's a growing sector. There is no doubt about it. And among the sector, there is no question that Asian Paints is a leader. So Asian Paints also has many other products, let's assume so. But among them, their home painting division is doing very, very well. That's a star. I'll not go to question marks, but I'll go down to cash cows. So what is a cash cow?
So it gives cash to the company.
Fast selling products.
Revenue.
So one example.
Cash cow is generated a lot of wealth.
In terms of volumes, even in terms of cash flows, cash generating products.
Okay, good. Hang on 1 minute. Now I also want to make sure
for example,
that.
Pinnacle from Infosys.
Okay, hang on 1 minute. I also want diversified people to speak. Don't hesitate to unmute yourself. The ones who are not speaking, force yourself, raise your voice, get a relative market share in the conversation, and also speak. So while I encourage those who are speaking now, that's brilliant. I also want others to also not hesitate. There is no wrong answer. Remember, there is no wrong answer. And I purely demonstrated that, or there's no wrong question or whatever it is. I very clearly demonstrated that even my Google form has lots of holes. So go ahead and say that. Perfect. So what is a cash cow? You said it generates a lot of cash. Okay, that's fine. But stars also generate a lot of cash. What is the difference?
Cash cow is something which has a major market share.
Cash cow is something which had earlier generated cash, but no, what I believe is cash cow which has generated cash earlier, but right now they are not generating cash, but they have enough reserves of cash with them. Example would be the PSU companies.
So what I think is that cash cows will not have much market share. I think they're not there, but stars have really good market share and they're relatively good.
Okay. So let's stick to what she's saying. And then I'll engage her in a conversation. So what you are saying is cash cows don't have market share or growth?
Much market share and growth, they're just performing.
No, you have to make up your mind. I'll not. You decide. Kaun banega crorepati? Is it either market share or growth? Think twice.
Market share.
Think twice.
No growth, but a steady market share.
Professor, we can take Jaguar cars from Tata Motors as cash cows.
Plastic films, for example, I think government.
Jaguar is a loss, no?
Okay, okay, good, good. So the example of, I'll give you an example, but perfectly, you're right. So now what is happening is stars are stars. Stars are, Shah Rukh Khan is no longer star. Honestly, I don't think he's a star. The new star is, who's the new star? Tiger Shroff or something?
No,
Tiger
Professor.
Shroff. Now we'll not get into that round of discussion as to who is the star, but you can anticipate, you can expect Tiger Shroff or I not that I like him, but Tiger Shroff or somebody else to continue to come out with new movies all the time, and he might do well. So stars are those where the market is growing. There's lots of demand for that kind of a market. And in the market, you are a leader. Cash cows are, as the word is there, cash, they generate a huge amount of cash for the company because one, you are a market leader. You remember the statement of red ocean and blue ocean, if you guys remember? Okay, so you are a market leader, but the market is not growing. Nobody wants to get into the market. For example, I always give this example because I think it's easier to explain. Like if you think of milk in Bangalore, you would think of Nandini, right? So Nandini or KMF has a huge market share. Milk per se, you buy Nandini milk. So, but is the consumption of milk drastically raising? Did pandemic result in 30% increase in the consumption of milk? Or did something happen that people started taking more and more milk? No. The market is steady. No new players is expected to come there. And you are sitting and making some good amount of money. There's not too much of your effort required. You don't have to advertise. You don't have to say Nandini milk, blue, green, yellow, and all that stuff because people know everything about you. So you're a cash cow. But stars are those where you might expect even competition coming in. But in Nandini, the milk is a cash cow. The star could be their paneer, but they cannot relax saying that, paneer, we are a leader. There could be somebody else, Amul, maybe Amul is a competitor, or somebody else may come in and take away the market share. So cash cows are those which have a steady income, but the market is not growing. Okay, got it? As I said, I'll move to the next slides for those of you who are not following the conversation. I'll explain one more time. But I thought this will be interactive. So now what are dogs?
Maybe products with low growth.
Products with low growth.
Or
yeah. Which has loyalty.
Which has loyalty. Okay, dogs are loyal. Okay.
Primary products of the company, even though it is not profitable, or even though it is not a star or cash cows.
Okay. What else?
The market is also not growing, and your relative, like the growth is also not growing.
So now what is happening to the money? Paisa, it's all about money. So what is happening to the money in dogs?
Neutral or negative growth.
Neutral or negative growth. Example would be that, let's say, think of a company. Okay, we know a best example of that is, how many of you know that there was, Amazon even introduced a phone called Fire? How many of you recall that? That Amazon came up with their own OS. I'm giving you an example of what is a dog and how to understand the dog thing. Is that Amazon came up with their own product, or let's say Google came up with their Google glasses, or came up with something else. So now they came up with a big bang, and after some time, the market is not reacting to it. They're not making money on that. But that's a dog that is always trailing behind you because you sold that to 100,000 users. That is the maximum number of phones that you sold, Mr. Amazon. And you have to maintain them. Just like you have some service going and you always have that product, right? I mean, you come out with the product from your IT firm and then the product has lost interest, but you still have to keep that service because you have 5 customers who are using it. So you promise them 7 years of service. So nothing is going to be happening. Nobody is going to buy the product, but that's I think staying in your thing. Eventually, that dog should disappear, right? So that's a dog. Now, the last on the list is question mark. What is a question mark?
Should we continue or
Uncertainty.
continue the product line?
It should we continue or should we look at this now? So now all of you said is perfectly right. The market growth rate is very high. Lots and lots of people are buying Alexa devices, huge thing. And obviously these interactive voice devices, lots and lots of people are buying. And my relative market share compared to Google Home or something is huge. It's a star. For years to come, it's going to be leading the way. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. Now let's look at a question mark. What's a question mark? What is the new thing that somebody is trying to, okay. I'm trying to get an example of a question mark which might come up. Now, let's take Google Meet. Now you have a situation that if you look at the conference apps, Zoom is obviously the star today, right? They are doing well, they have a huge market share, but Google and Microsoft team and all these guys, they also want to be in the running. So they introduce the product, but they don't know. Market growth rate is huge. Lots and lots of people are, and for the rest of our lives, this may become the mode of communication. So market is growing huge, but where am I in that market? I don't know where am I in that market. I'm trying a lot of things. If you look at what Google is doing for the Google Meet, they are making Google Meet as a mandatory thing on your calendar. And if you are not careful, pop, it will open up a Google Meet reference and you have people running around here and there as to how to connect with you. And they're making it easy for you to have a Google Meet as a usage. So they are doing all this, but still they don't know whether it will become a dog or whether it will become a star. So it's a question mark. I'll have to keep waiting. Should I invest more money? Should I not invest more money? Definitely, Zoom is investing left, right, and center. They're making things because they know that we are leading on. And actually have a Google BCG. We'll discuss about it. So this is what the 4 matrices are. This is for you to understand. You guys can make that assumption. Stars are business leaders. They have huge market shares. So am I clear to all of you, or do you want me to refocus on any point here? This is all about BCG Matrix. And for those of you who believe that you need me to explain one more time, that's the primary reason why I'm here. Please let me know if you have any questions and I will explain one more time.
We are good, Professor.
Very good. Thank you. And so that's done. So BCG Matrix is done. I've asked you for a BCG Matrix in your assignment too. So you will have to do a BCG Matrix. What have I done in BCG Matrix? I don't recall. I've asked you to do a BCG Matrix for Pfizer, for Moderna, or something like that. I don't remember, but I tried to be innovative in asking you. Now, if you understood BCG Matrix, in my last class, Somebody said, oh, BCG Matrix is outdated. Nobody wants to use BCG Matrix. So yeah, okay, I told her in my last class that SWOT is outdated. We should use VRIO. And now she said BCG Matrix is outdated. I said, yes, obviously BCG Matrix is one mechanism of doing the assessment. What is the other alternative that we have? Who's this? Just give me a minute. Hello? Huh. Yes, okay, ready, yeah? Okay, I'll do that. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Yes, yes, yes. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, 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 right. Nanu, I'm in a call. I'll be there. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. Yes, sorry about that. We must look at world a little differently. What do we look at? If you're not happy with dogs, you start reading all of these things. There's one other alternate way. Okay, most importantly is this slide or any slide for that matter. Let's go back to a nicer slide, which is this. Remember, stars can fall, right? That's how the terminology is. Stars can fall, and stars can rise. And stars can fall over drugs or whatever it is. Stars can fall over a bad move. Stars can fall. It's very, very rare that cash cows will become stars. Cash cows are almost end of the world. But in my previous term, somebody told me, sir, you have to find one example of a cash cow becoming a star. And thankfully, I was able to find that thanks to the pandemic. Now, the example is, but that's very, very odd, very, very odd. If you remember, one of the initial discoveries of the pandemic was that India is likely to be more affected, or India is likely to be much cushioned up because there was a lot of tuberculosis vaccine that was given, if you remember, which means that, what is that drug? HCG, or what is that?
Chlorofluorocarbon. Chlorofluorocarbon.
Yeah, but there was
Chloroquine.
Yeah, so yeah, correct. So, so it strongly was felt that if you administered that at a very early stage to a COVID-19 patient, his recovery rate was high. And India was one of the largest producer of that drug, and that drug had no growth. It was almost at the end of its cycle. But there was only one company which was producing it, or maybe there was only one country which was producing it, and boom, from a cash cow, it became a star. But as you notice, it was only a temporary rise. So everything can go wrong, everything can, everything, stars can become. Yes, please.
One example I thought was isopropanol, sir. Isopropanol was a simple solvent, but with sanitizer business growing up, I think the availability, it was simplest molecule, but then has gained so much popularity because of sanitizer. So growth market. So.
Absolutely. I mean, you never thought that.
Yes.
Very brilliant example. Very true. Very true. Who would ever have wondered that this would come out from the and wake up? So
Professor,
remember, yes, please.
Yeah, I have a doubt. Is it right to say that all cash cows are fallen stars? Means they were stars at some time, some point of time, and now they have become cash cows?
Absolutely. All cash cows were a star at some time, but the reverse is not true. All stars need not continue to be cash cows.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, star like Skype had their own thing. We must. I'll Skype you was almost a terminology, right? I mean, let's Skype each other or something. But now it's gone. It didn't even stand to be there. I think Skype has got $12 of mine, and I don't know how to take it out from them because they're sitting out there and they are enjoying my. I think Microsoft is having my $12. So the star just dropped out to be, and not even that, the star just dropped out to be a dog. If you notice, is that Skype is no longer in the race for the whole business, and it's gone. Even within Microsoft, Skype has been thrown out with their own MS Teams. So that's exactly what it is. So there you go. Some things which will turn out to be there. And question marks. There are lots and lots of question marks which have. You will never know a question mark becoming a dog, because it might even die in the very early beta stage, the very, very early beta stage. But lots of question marks have turned out to be stars and cash cows and all that. So yeah, so I guess that's done. But they are not the only guys to do it. There was another company which was called Bcg Matrix. Will tell you all of this. Okay, so this is more about it, saying that they can go from anywhere to anywhere. I'm not going to hold on to this, which then brings up to, if you're not happy with Bcg Matrix, you must look at the GE 9-cell matrix, this time by McKinsey. So McKinsey is a competitor to Boston Consulting Group. And obviously, if somebody comes out with something, we obviously have to come out with our version of the story. So there was what is called a GE 9-cell matrix. And if you look at the cells, it will tell you which are the healthy cells, which are the question mark cells, and which are the dog cells, right? They're also the similar thing, stars. Anyway, it's all terminologies. So what they came up with was, I'm just going to stay to one particular point, is they came up with industry attractiveness, business unit strength. So they said that if the industry is doing well and if the business unit is doing well, that will grow further. But if the industry attractiveness is weak, or the business strength is weak, which means that you don't have any market share, you're just sitting on to a 10% market share in this, and this industry is not doing well, it says you must harvest. What does harvest mean?
Wind down. Wind down the business.
What is that?
Wind down the business.
Wind down the business. How many of you have invested in mutual funds?
I invest.
Okay, so when you invest in a mutual fund, what are the basic two options you have?
SIP?
One-time investments and
Buy and sell.
No, say that one more time.
Buy and sell.
SIP and lump sum.
SIP and fixed term.
SIP
and lump sum.
fixed term.
Lump sum.
What else? There's one more thing that they ask you.
There is a stop loss. And there is a.
What's the time? Yeah, exactly 5 minutes.
High risk and,
all that is good. No. There is.
Fee based or market based?
Okay, thank you, Shashank. Yeah. There's one more basic thing. Growth or?
Regular.
Growth or dividend. What does that mean? Growth or dividend? Have you ever been asked that question?
Dividend is like you'll be getting money after equal amount of months, right?
Yeah, okay. And growth is?
Based on
long
term.
Okay,
The
so
profit is added in the
let's discuss that situation. So I invest. Oh, thank you. I invest in your company. Sheikh, and I invest in his company. So he says, Ramesh, this is one of the finest business to be in, and we have a lot of potential. So what do we do? Yeah, bye. So what do we do? So he says, invest in my company and stay invested. But I don't trust the sector that he is in. So I'll tell him, no, I'll do one thing. Every time you make profit, you must pay back some portion of it, because I'm not sure how the sector will behave. So I'll start harvesting dividend. I want my money. I want the profits back. But if I'm too much confident about the business, I'm willing to reinvest the earnings into that business again. So that is growth. So harvest is get out of it. Hold is maybe stay there, which way it goes, and growth is put more money into it. So there are three options that they came up with. So this is what is the BCG matrix versus the G9 cell matrix. There are more thoughts on it. I have given you in your assignment 2 an option to do a BCG matrix for some companies. You can either choose to do a BCG matrix or you can do a G9 cell matrix or McKinsey matrix as such. This completes our subject on BCG and G. Any questions on that before we wind up? This is an example of Reliance. Yeah.
You've already uploaded the assignment too. I don't see it.
Yes, I have.
Even, sir, I have logged in, but it's not there. It's only one. It's showing still only one assignment. That is correct. One.
No, are you not seeing it?
No, sir.
No, sir.
I don't trust the male voices. I want to have one female voice confirm the same.
It's not there, Professor. I did not see.
I thought one. Well, you will stand by me. What the hell? Okay, there must be some lock which I have to unlock, but I'll take care of that. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for letting me know, because your deadline for that is 17th of January. Oh, plenty of time, right? Nobody will look at it till 15th of January.
It's a group assignment or individual, sir?
It's a group assignment and no presentation, point number 1. But at the end of assignment 1, I'm going to pull out some people from each of the groups, and that individual will be asked to either do a PPT by himself or herself, or that individual will be asked to do a video presentation to me. So technically the answer to you, Dhananjay, is it's a group. There's no individual presentation and there is no video presentation. So you just have to upload a video. Upload the PPT. That's it. But maybe I want Kiran to do something a little more different. You guys will know your names later on. Maybe I want Kiran to do it differently. So I'll ask Kiran to, though he may belong to the same group as Dhananjay, I'll tell him not to participate in that group, come out of the group and present it. He might be asked to just do only the PPT, or I might even want him to come in front of the video and make a presentation. I hope I'm clear, right?
Sure, sir.
Okay, good. So we are done with this subject. We will move into another subject, which is B2B marketing, the core of what most of us are doing in our lives, which is in our work professions, B2B. So we're going to take a 15-minute break. Is that how many minutes do you need? Exactly 3 o'clock.
Yes, sir. 15 minutes is fine.
15 minutes is fine. We'll take a 15 minutes break and reassemble. Okay.
Sure.
Okay, good. Exactly 3:15. I seem to be a master of time today. So let's get on with the topic, B2B marketing. Now, B2B marketing, one question, and whoever tells first, I'll assume that the rest of the team is in agreement with him or her. Is B2B bigger than B2C, or is B2B smaller than B2C?
Bigger than B2C.
Bigger.
Bigger than B2C.
Bigger than B2B, obviously. And so B2B is a larger percentage of business. That's large. There's more voluminous. And for most of us, B2B is the way our lives are going along, right? So B2B versus B2C, some differences between B2B and B2C, if you can tell me.
B2B will have less discounts and B2C will have more discounts and offers.
Is it metro cash and carry, Professor? B2B?
B2B will have less discounts and B2C
Or offers, attractive offers.
No, you make up your mind. Discounts or offers.
Yeah, discounts and offers. Yeah.
And or. Okay.
And
okay. And whereas B2B will have less.
Yes.
Professor, the numbers will be huge in case of quantity. When it comes to B2B, the numbers are huge, and in case of B2C, it is 1-2 products. So discounts are certainly there, and so it will be treated something like a wholesale level in B2B and retail level in B2C.
Retail level in B2C. Okay. Name the same person who spoke now. I'm sorry, because the way my screen is, I can't see who's speaking.
Meghna here, Professor.
Yeah, Meghna, now give me an example of a B2B company and a B2C company.
For an example, now Blue Dart and Xiaomi is a B2B. But Xiaomi and us, the customer, will be B2C.
I wanted a simple answer. You gave me a complicated.
Okay.
The two. Give me one B2C transaction and a B2. Oh, you said the transaction between what happens between Blue Dart and Xiaomi as two companies is a B2B transaction.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Whereas the transaction that happens between Xiaomi
and us customer is B2C.
And you, the buyer of the phone, is a B2C transaction.
Right.
Very good. You picked it up right at that point. Okay. Anything else?
Sir, we support paint to the body shops, like Hyundai, Honda showrooms. And then from there, they support to the customer. So basically, whatever we do is B2B, and what Honda showroom or other, whatever they need.
Are you in a body shop company?
We support them, sir. We give our supply our product to them.
Okay, because I wish I had known you 1 week.
No problem.
Back. Right now, if I was interrupted by a call in the class, it was because I got a call from the body shop company saying that my car is ready now after return.
Oh, okay.
But had I known you, I would have got it free, right?
No problem.
No, I wouldn't have got it free. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so that's right. That's a good example. You supplying to Hyundai is a B2B transaction, and you Hyundai giving to us is a B2C transaction.
Correct.
Okay. Which kind of a relationship is more complicated? Which is more complicated?
B2B is more complicated.
B2B.
B is complicated.
B is complicated.
No, B2C is complicated.
B2C is complicated.
Okay. All saying B2B stay on the left, all B2B stay on the right. Okay, so that doesn't happen in the online classes, right? Okay, so yeah, so you're saying B2B, somebody is saying B2B is complicated, somebody is saying B2C is complicated. Okay, what else? What else do we have to think about? Okay, good. What is the one major difference between what happens between B and another B, and what happens between B and C? I know the question may be complicated, but I'm just wondering if you can tell me what is it.
Professor, I can say this. So B2B, what one business is expecting from another business is straight cut. This is what I want you to deliver. But in case of B2C, you can't expect anything. Anything can happen. That's one difference I can say.
Okay, good. Thanks. That's very nice. I can see a general understanding of the level. Thanks, Meghna, and everybody of you for helping me to open the slide. And What is this? I think I am in the wrong class.
Raw
What is
material,
this?
raw material to a main product.
Raw material to main product. Okay, now this product is a television, and I guess aluminum is one of the major components in the manufacture of a microwave oven. So now tell me, name everything. I will begin by naming Samsung on the bottom, and you begin by naming a company on that core. Which is the largest aluminum company that you can think of?
Hindalco.
Hindalco. Okay, that's Hindalco. That's Hindalco. No, Hindalco is this. This is Hindalco. What is this? These are the Reddy brothers who are mining.
Mining.
Okay, so there is somebody who's mining the ore, and then there is Hindalco, who gives you in some format. And what is this?
Manufacturer.
That's the manufacturer who converts these pipes into some sheets. And this is
Assembler.
This is possibly the assembler. And finally, this is you buying the product. So this link is a B2C link, whereas this entire thing is a B2B link. And remember, why am I being so specific and so very rudimentary in class is because these are basic foundations, and you understand these for the rest of your life, you'll never forget. Okay, just like all of us know BODMAS, and I've said that many times, right? Okay, so what happens between this part and this? What happens between this part and this? What happens between? What do they do? What does this guy do? This guy buys this ore and converts to pipes. And what does this guy do? He takes the pipes and converts it in.
Gives the shape.
Converts it into a thing, and then he gives it to Samsung. What does this guy do? What does he do? He just
Final assembly. Final assembly.
No, assuming that this is assembly and Girias, this is the Girias outlet. Or this is, what does he do to you? What does the Girias guy or I don't know, I just picked up a name like Girias, some other.
Marketing, sales and marketing.
Market the product to us.
So, but what is the difference between what happens here and what happens here?
Retail.
Okay, retail.
First one is to the customer.
Huh?
The last one is B2C. Last one versus the in between ones are B2B.
Yes, but what happens here? Okay, possibly.
Giria is a middleman.
Okay, middleman. But the most important difference in B2B and B2C is here he does nothing. He just picks up the products and sells it to you. Whereas in every stage, there is a value addition that the company brings. This company, Mr. Hindalco, is important because he value adds. He converts the ore to pipes. He brings in value. This company takes the pipes and converts it into sheets or manufactures it. This converts sheets into a final product, whereas here the final product is being sold. There is no value addition. So a B2B transaction is a transaction in which there is a value addition in every part of the chain. So that is the fundamental difference between a B2B business and a B2C business. Now look at this company. Assuming this is Van Heusen and you want to buy a shirt, there is cotton, there's somebody who's spinning it, there's somebody who's then weaving it, and then somebody who's tailoring it, somebody who's actually distributing it, and then the shirt arrives to you at the shop and then you buy the shirt. So a B2B transaction is a transaction in which there is, I'm going to say that 3 times, there is value addition across every part of the cycle. Now, if you do not do value addition, like she's used the word middleman, you are not doing anything. You are just standing in between. Why is it that we are complaining about the farmer's problem? Is that the farmer is producing it, it's supposed to reach you, or it's supposed to reach the grain mill or the flour mill, but between the grain farmer and the flour mill, there are lots and lots of people who are not value adding. They are not adding any value to it. They are uh, just riding on that opportunity. So that's the problem. Is that if can you get rid of any one of these cycles? Impossible. I cannot say that give me the cotton, I'll give you the shirt. It doesn't work like that. Somebody has to convert the cotton to thread, thread to weaving, weaving to tailoring, tailoring to distribution. So that is what is the fundamental difference between B2B. So if I were to ask you a question, B2B businesses value add to the product along the cycle. Is that very clear? One and primary difference between B2C. What else? What does this guy do? What does this your Purvika or Sangeet do to the shop? Or he's not doing anything else. He's just giving you the product. Okay, they say that we may be marketing the product, we may be saying that, but that's a small link of activity in the cycle. Okay, is there something on the chat? Yeah, value addition. Yes. Okay, just pushing. Perfect. Okay, good. So if you got the slide, now let's talk about B2B.
Sir,
yes.
Question, sir. What about company showrooms?
Company showrooms are part of the company. So the company is
They're acting like distributors.
they are within the company itself. So that is the part of the cycle process, which means that they are doing it themselves. Now, if a company, many a time, spinning, weaving can be the same entity. Many a time, tailoring, and there's no distribution, if you can see. So it is, company showroom is just one of the cycle of the whole thing. But here, if it's a different entity, I'm talking about, if it's a different entity. So if you have the Prestige man store on Commercial Street, that's the best place for you to buy some men clothing. They are just an outlet. They are not doing anything else. But you could even walk into an exclusive Raymond showroom, because that's part of the business line itself. You don't have a new entity coming in. I hope I'm making it clear.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so the toughest part of the B2B business, and remember, this is very important for you as we travel along. I have a look at the clock. Exactly 1 hour, and I need to finish this class. Okay, the clung is there's lack of transparency. Do you know how business decisions are made within Infosys? For whether if Infosys, I was actually coming yesterday on the Sarjapur road, and somebody was showing me that Wipro is trying to move all their offices to a new building that's coming up. Okay, that's a huge 20 complexes cluster. And I am in the business of assuming so, not that I'm in the business of networking and providing fiber cables and all that. But I want to get there. I don't know how to do it. There is absolutely lack of transparency in the way business happens, business decision happens, in any B2B environment. And most of all, there are lots of negotiations which are involved in a B2B business. Of course, you may say that I will be negotiating for my dress on Fashion Street or something, but that's a very small part of the business. You know, it's 16,999 is the cost of the new phone. You pay it or go. That's it. And most importantly, there are many people involved in the entire decision making process. And there are various points in the decision making process. If I have to provide my networking cable to them, I have to first go and meet the IT manager. Then the IT manager will probably approve me and then take me to a QA guy, and the QA guy may approve me. He might then take me to a business relationship manager, who will then take me to a purchase guy. You know what the cycle is. And finally, if there's a biggest deal, what's the name of the new CEO or the chairman at Wipro, the young guy, son of Aziz Premji?
He's Rashid. Rishabh Premji.
Rishabh. So finally, I may have to go to Rishabh to make a decision. So the various points, various individuals are involved. But eventually, B2B is in some way a derivative of a B2C business. That means to say that eventually, somewhere along, if the market is down, people are not buying, B2B business is bound to be affected, right? Here is a unique example of restaurants will buy more ovens only if more people eat food. So that's a kind of an example. So if you've understood this, we'll move along. Okay. So the thing about it is that B2B gives a lot of challenges because you need to understand the buying criteria of an individual here. There is no individual in this case. There is an entity which is this case. I know. We discuss wants, needs, desires. The need to stay hungry. The need to be motivated. The need to be appreciated. But those Maslow's pyramid doesn't work here. You have to look at it a very different chain. So we will spend the next few slides trying to understand why B2B business is very complex and how B2B business happens. Now, the market is extremely huge. The market is extremely huge when it comes to a B2B opportunity. One of the first thing that most companies do is to define itself where it is in the entire marketing process. That means to say that there are all tire companies. Everybody is a tire company. There are TVS Sri Chakra tires. There are Apollo tires. There are Vikrant tires, and then there is some other company. I don't know. But the moment I tell you TVS Chakra tires, you don't think of tires for a bus. You start thinking of tires for a two-wheeler. The moment I tell you an MRF tire, you are not thinking of tires for a two-wheeler. You're thinking of tires for a car. Similarly, when I talk of something else, it could be tires for aircrafts. So every company, because of the absolute diversity in the market, they decide to be identified on where they are. So we obviously know there are some IT companies which say we are focused on banking sector. There are IT companies which say we are focused on logistics sector. But you as an IT engineer, you will fit into both the entities in the internal part of the business. But how does the company want to focus itself as? That we provide the best software for banking sector. We provide the best software for logistics sector. So one of the first things that most B2B companies do, or most companies do per se, is that they identify the sector that they are most comfortably located. If you look at it, all the thing, there are lots of pharma companies, but not all pharma companies are manufacturing all kinds of drugs. Some pharma companies say, "Oh, we are in the world in the multivitamin category, or we are in the cancer drug categories," because they want to be identified and are narrowing their business so that it is more efficiently managed. So if you understand this, we'll move to a next slide. Again, the point is that the first of the P? No, this is probably the first of the P. So pricing of the products is here again. The pricing of the product is very, very different, because price may not be an important parameter at all, or price could be an all important parameter. Why am I saying that both ways? Why am I contradicting my own sentence? It's because whatever that you may be charging for the service or the product that you are rendering to a company, the company takes that into its process and passes it on to the next cycle. So the they are not going to be looking at the price alone as the parameter, because they are doing something along with it. For me, buying a phone, the most important parameter is the cost of the phone, because I'm not using it for any business development. But if I were to buy a computer, if my company wants me to buy a computer, they would tell me that buy a computer which is not just price based, but which will eventually give you some benefit. It crashes less, it has a wider screen, because if you have that, you can do more business. So the point is, whenever there is a value add, the pricing is not a primary parameter, because they are passing along the cost of the price. So that is what is the most important point that is being mentioned here. I leave it to you all to read it, unless until you want me to state a particular point. Second, distribution. Distribution is the biggest thing when it comes to it. So now there are many ways in which distribution happens. You know how distribution happens in a B2C market, right? There's an outlet that finally go and buy that from the outlet. But in a B2B, there are direct salespersons who come out there. You have company agents or company salesperson who go and visit these places, or you may have a distributor who will connect to the company. Then there are representatives or agents. What does that mean? Is because you are only delivering a small segment of the entire product that the company needs. Let's say you are only selling springs to Maruti. Let's say there are a lot of springs involved in a car. I'm just randomly picking up a product. There are a lot of springs required in a car. The cost of the spring is not going to be very high, and hence you need to be competitive, because there could be a lot of players. But can you afford to have an exclusive direct salesperson or distributors located? No, it might become effective for you. So then you start working with representatives or agents who will not only represent your product, but they will represent many other products, as long as they are not competing with you, and they will present your best interest with Maruti. And so you have, because there's a requirement for such products across India, across the world, you start using representatives and agents. Then, of course, there are lots of other things like channel partners, consultants, because how do you get a business if you don't even know where to look for the business? Or you can only give one segment of a particular activity. I told you that I want to supply cables, but cables alone is not enough. I have to be in touch with the system integrator who will actually use my cables and connectors and computers to be able to provide a solution. So these are what the distribution is. So as you can see, the distribution cycle is very diverse. Questions? No questions? Very good. The second is, how do you communicate to the company that you exist? It's very simple in the case of B2C. Tomorrow, you just put up a front page ad in Times of India saying that new phone. How many of you know about this phone which came for how much? 175 rupees or 375 rupees?
Freedom.
Yes, sir.
Freedom 251.
251.
Was that a B2B business? No, it was a B2C, and the C now standing for, let's see, who's the smarter guy? C standing for?
Corruption.
Huh?
Cheating.
Cheating. Yeah, very good. Cheating or conning. Very good. So now that's it. You put up one huge holding, one front paper ad, and that's it, done. But let's assume you are supplying some electronic component for manufacturing of a satellite. Do you think you can put up a full front page ad in Times of India, or we provide vector actuators for satellites, and that's an ad you put up in the first page of Times of India? People laugh at you. So you need a totally different way of communicating your product to these people. So that normal modes are, you directly go to them, you email them, or you do some kind of a telemarketing based on some database, or make yourself present and felt in all the events, or on the road shows, or in the trade shows, or in the exhibitions. If there is an auto exhibition, who do you think will come? By default, people who are interested in auto products. In auto exhibition, if you are going to sell cosmetics, I don't know whether it's going to work. So now you know that you eventually have a totally different mode of communication. So as you can see, the 4 P's have changed. The 4 P's were a long story that we taught you, I told you to remember. The 4 P's were so different from the 4 P's of B2C, are different from the 4 P's of B2B. And finally, this is the most important thing. Despite all the complexity, the one fundamental difference between B2B and B2C marketing is the individual. In B2C, there is no individual involved at all. You don't even know who is the individual. The individual does not connect with you. It's just that you don't like to buy in a particular place. You will go and buy it in some other place, but your product will be bought. But in a B2B marketing, there is an individual connect between the company's representative and the other buying company's representative, and there is communication between the two. If that communication is good, if that company likes you, if that individual likes you, business will happen. Otherwise, there is no business. So the key thing in a B2B marketing is, how deeply is your individual personal connection? That's exactly why lots of companies, when they diversify, when they expand, they bring their marketing heads from a similar line of business, because they know that this guy has the individual connection with the possible buyers. So the key thing is personal selling. Questions? So we will spend the next 10, 20 slides talking about all of this. Now let's look at, we'll go beyond this. Now, what do you mean by business? That is, who is buying? Producers, resellers, government, institutions, they are all the guys who are buying. What type of business is done? I'm skipping 2 slides, which I believe you guys can understand very well. Okay, so equipment, raw materials, services, process material, you know all of it, right? We're not going to stick to it. Components, all of this happens in a B2B transaction. This is one slide I want you to remember very, very well, as big as a slide on the marketing mix. The big differences between the two. Okay, the demand is individual, the demand is organization. B2B, there are very few customers. There are many, many customers. There are many customers, there are many people who are buying cars, but there are very few people who are manufacturing cars. They are, car manufacturing companies are likely to be not located in Assam, not likely to be located in the Thar desert, not likely to be located in some other places. They are likely to be located in one particular area. We'll talk about that definition later on. But most car companies are located in one place. Most IT companies are located in one place because similar businesses are easy to run. But the buyer is everywhere. The buyer could be in Assam. The buyer could be everywhere. The distribution, as we explained, is more direct. Whereas it's indirect. You put up an ad, you put up a movie, you put up an ad in a TV and then the sale happens. The nature of buy is more professional. The nature of buy is more personal. I actually want to buy the Kia car, the Kia motor car, not because it gives me better mileage, but I like the way Tiger Shroff behaves in that, and I personally connected to him. So I want to buy a Kia motor car. But the Kia Motors is not going to buy steering wheels from somebody else just because the owner of that company is Shah Rukh Khan. No, the buying is more professional. The buying is more personal. Buying influence, we'll talk about it, is multiple. Buying influence is single. Who is going to influence my decision other than, of course, your wife or your friend? It's going to be 1 or 2 people. I make the decision. Negotiations are complex. Negotiations are very simple. Okay, 10% discount, deal done. And reciprocity means that there is a greater possibility that while you may be supplying them some components, that company may also be supplying something to you as well. It could be a two-way relationship. But what is the relationship between the customer and Samsung? Nothing. What do they expect from you? Nothing. There is no reciprocity. Leasing is greater. Of course, there is EMI here, but that's a smaller volume. Here, there's a greater leasing. The promotion is personal selling. Finally, you have to go to the company, sell the product, whereas you don't connect with the buyer because you do advertising. Long, uninterrupted reading of the slide. Any questions that you guys have? No? Most perfect souls? I'll leave another 10 seconds for you to think about it. Or are you guys there, or is it being very quiet?
Yep, we are here.
B2B is completely professional.
Was that a good quick nap that you all had?
No, Professor.
No. Okay, good.
Is that B2B is completely professional, technical grounds they go, or sometimes a personal this one will also work.
B2B is completely professional, personal.
Okay. Okay.
And now we'll see why. Okay. Now we're going into each of the process. The decision making is very, very complex. Just like who is going to make a decision for buying the treadmill for your house? Everybody in your house will have some say because everybody is a user. Similarly, the decision-making process in a company, you know what it is. They're going to be exclusive decision-making units. They're going to sit together and decide whether we should buy this product or not. I'm sure all of you or some of you may have even sat through that discussions. I want to keep an eye on the clock because I have to make sure that I cover this for you guys to answer the assignment too. Okay, so that done, we'll look at this other one. So the decision is more complex when the value is very high and the risk element is very high. How complicated is the decision whether we should have cafe coffee day dispenser or we should have Starbucks dispenser in the office? Yeah, it's an important decision, but it's not a very complex decision. It's not high risk value decision. A smaller segment of people, but still not one individual, but a smaller segment of people should make. The decision on whether to have a certain variety of security software is maybe low value, but it's high risk. Then you really want to make sure that that decision is not going to come and haunt you tomorrow. For that decision, you might even lose your job. So you want to make sure that you spread the decision making process. You get more people involved. The whole idea of whether we should switch from one major provider to another major provider with a high value, high risk purchase, virtually everybody in the top gets involved in that decision. So as you can see, decision is more complex in B2B. I mean, more on that. Decision buying is more rational. I told you I want to buy Kia Motors because of somehow today Tiger Sheriff has been troubling me. Okay, so because of the Tiger, but that doesn't work. I'm gonna actually tell you one thing is that lots of us, and I've mentioned this many times before, is when we comes to purchasing something for ourselves, we are so emotionally carried away. We go to our friend's house and we find something in his house interesting. We just buy it, whether we need it or not. It doesn't. We just buy it. It's an emotional purchase, but in B2B, it's rational. Do we really need it? Is it really going to be there? How much is it going to cost? What is going to be the benefit of it? There are 101 questions that are being asked. So what did I say? The decision is complex, decision is rational. And how does the process happen? The process happen is that first, somebody comes up and tells, I have a problem. It says, oh, I think the manufacturing chain is getting a little slower. I have a problem. So then there is a committee which is going to sit through it and say, oh, if this is a problem, how do we address it? We may have to buy a product. Then they go through the entire process of evaluating whether the product is worth it. Is it going to really benefit us? So there are lots of stages that happen. Second stage is then they shortlist the suppliers. Some suppliers they don't want to buy. Some suppliers may already be in their list. And they want to know what is it that they do. Are they qualified? Are they technically qualified? You know all of this, but that's the process. That third stage is they don't just go ahead and buy. They raise what is called an RFP. So they make people to quote for the product. And then they evaluate it, and finally some kind of a decision happens, right? This is how business happens. These are more and more about the same business cycle. Similarly is the selling cycle. If this is the buying cycle, it's very, very complex. So is the selling cycle. You really have to go through it. does my product fit into his thing? What is the modification that I have to do to the product? Is it worth doing that modification for that small business that is going to be coming from him? So that's a two-way evaluation. The seller also does an evaluation of the buyer. Is his buying terms of payment good? Oh, there used to be I can't name those companies today, but then they used to say, never do with company X because they will buy your product and they'll never pay you the money. So these are some things that happens on a two-way process. Now that we got tired of our B2B business, let's talk something a little more relaxing. What's that relaxing thing? Is that assuming that it's you in the bottom and you're in love with this boy or girl, whoever it is. Now it can work either way nowadays, but we don't go there. And you want to marry, you have lots of options of getting to that decision or getting to that decision being favorable. One is you can give your horoscope to a pandit. The pandit will review your horoscope and go to an uncle or aunt of the boy and girl, and then eventually go to the parents and possibly go to the boy or girl. Or you may have a colleague who is also related to the boy or girl, and you can ask your colleague to put in a good word for you because you're a nice person. You save a lot of money, you doing well in life, and again you might go through a cycle. Or you might want to talk to the boy or girl's neighbor, and that neighbor may put in a good word. But assuming that the neighbor has somebody else in mind or doesn't like you, then what happens to your process? Your process is stuck, right? So sometimes you could have somebody who's going to be friendly and helpful. Some way you might come across some people who could be not friendly, who actually have somebody else in mind for that person and will block you. If this is our story in our own daily lives, this is the story in B2B marketing. Very complex relationship is that just like family members and group members, there are all kinds of people who are involved in a buying cycle, who are all involved in a buying cycle. What are these guys? There are 5, or how many are there? There are 6 people who are involved in a buying cycle. Now, the assignment 2 that I've given you has 2 sections. The second section is the Bcg Matrix, which I have, or the GE Matrix. But the first section is a case study that you will have to go through. In that case study, I have given you names of lots of people in the company, what they do, what is their background, what are their problems in life, and how much of power and control they have. And you will have to go through this understanding of each person and then make sure that your product is bought by that company. Okay, so that is the story of a B2B marketing, just as complex as this process of relationship building. Very, very complex, right? You don't know who is in favor with you, who doesn't like you, who can influence, who cannot influence. So in a B2B marketing environment, there are 6 people. One is the initiator. Who is the initiator? The initiator is the person who wants to buy the product, who believes, or it's the guy on the production cycle who's saying, sir, if we have better lighting in the shop floor, we might be able to produce more. And he comes back and says that I need better lighting. Now, while that could be a requirement, and so he says, let's buy Philips LED tube lights. Now, somebody is going to stand by and say, yes, Philips tube lights are better than Ciscar tube lights for that matter. Who is going to confirm that? There could be somebody who is an influencer. Who is that influencer? That influencer could be either somebody from another shop floor who said, yes, sir, we put Philips tube lights, they last long. Or I have noticed that my competitor has Philips tube lights, or I mean, the tube light is just one example. Just give me 1 minute. I may have to take this call. Sorry about that I had to take this call. So I was saying that there are influencers. While there are initiators and influencers, there is something called a decider, somebody who's actually going to make that decision. It could be the head of a business group, or have I paused for recording? No. Yeah. So then there is the buyer. The buyer is the one who's actually physically possibly going to pay the money and who is going to be involved in the entire process. End user is the one who is actually going to use that. If there is going to be better lighting, it's going to be that individual on that machine who is going to do it. And there are approvers who actually sign, maybe the CEO of a company who will sign on it. While all of them are well understood, there's one other person who's called the gatekeeper. Now, who's a gatekeeper? A gatekeeper is somebody who is going to stop you from getting the business. Now, gatekeepers can come in all kinds of forms. The gatekeeper could be an initiator. The initiator says, oh, I want this particular product from this particular company. He doesn't want it from another company because maybe in his earlier job he had used that product and didn't work. The gatekeeper, the influencer himself can be in the form of a gatekeeper. The influencer says, buy any product, but don't buy this product because their services are very bad. The third is the decider, the boss. He says, no, we will not buy it. So as you can see, while there could be each a single individual. Sometimes the approver can also be the decider. The approver can also be the buyer. But a gatekeeper is a non-existing entity who can be among any one of these people. Now, before I move on to the next phase, I want to make sure that you all have understood the nuances of the buyer roles in this, because one, by default, you will have to understand this to do the case study. Two, a large percentage of your exam marks are going to come out of it. Three, this is a key understanding process in a B2B market. Any questions that you may have? No? Perfect. You are all in sync with me?
So one quick question.
Yep.
Good? Okay. Perfect. No problem. If you are fine, I have no questions. So these are what the individuals are all made up of. Okay. Now, again, I've listed them for you. Make sure you know them very well, because they'll come to you in many forms in your life. And if you are the buying guy, you also may act as one of them. That is the problem. You might also act as one of them.
So one quick question.
Yes, please.
Sir, if I'm planning to set up my business and I want to look out for other businesses which I can cater to,
Yes.
who's the role that I should look out for to pitch in my products?
The best guy is the influencer. Who is an influencer? The influencer has substantial ability to sway a decision by everyone in this cycle. The influencer is likely to be one, a user, or somebody who is closely connected to a decision-making process, right? Now, let's say you want to sell something to, I know you have a product which the user is going to be very happy because you know the space. What does the initiator do? The initiator goes and tells the boss that I want it. The user is the one who will put up the specifications of the requirement. Now, in most of the business cycles, if you are connected with the business cycle at a very, very early stage, you know the initiator and the user, right? The initiator and user are normally at the lowest level of the decision-making cycle. By that, I mean, it could be an engineer who is doing the design, or it could be somebody else who is at a lower level. Now, if you know them well, you can make sure that the entire design has your component into it. Then there is no question of anything, right? The user has made sure that maybe you have a box that fits in. As long as the box has your specifications on dimensions, it's done. So the best way, of course, is to go to the users and initiators. Then, of course, you work with the influencers. The influencers can obviously sway the decision. But at the top of all of that, if the approver is the one who has to make the decision, as long as no major objections come from these people, the kind of a process happens. So as long as you don't have gatekeepers in your life, business happens. The gatekeepers are the greatest troublemaker. Who is a gatekeeper? The gatekeeper is normally, for example, I have been selling, let's say, clutch gears, clutch mechanism for Maruti for the last 8 years. Now you are the new clutch manufacturer and you want to come in. Now I'm worried about what you would do. The gatekeeper, I would have bought the gatekeeper. I would have bought the decision maker. I would have bought the buyer. I would have given him huge rewards. I would have sent him out for a party. I don't know what I would have done. So gatekeepers are the ones who will do anything to ensure that the existing cycle doesn't change. Maybe he has he has some kind of a biased influence over the existing supplier or things like that, right?
Yep. Okay.
Okay, good. So finally, products are very, very complex. Products are very, very complex. I buy Porsche cars because I like it. But I don't buy a Kirloskar generator just because I like it. There are many, many processes involved on it. And most importantly, higher the volume, the lesser the number of companies buying it, which is called the Pareto principle of 80-20, which means that if the product is worth 10,000 rupees, there will be 100,000 customers. Like what is the product worth? Let's say 300 rupees. Water supplying to offices or supplying stationery to the offices. It's a small product. That every customer, every company is a customer. But if you're supplying some high complex equipment, then the number of buyers are going to be very, very less. How many buyers are there for Boeing aircrafts? How many buyers are there for the aircrafts that come out from Rafale? Now let's take the case of Rafale. It's a pure B2C business, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, a B2C, I said.
No, it's not.
It's actually not even a B2B. It's a kind of a B2C business, or more precisely a G2G business. But we look at it more like a B2B business. Okay, assuming that Rafael is selling it to a buyer, which is the Indian Army, which is again another business entity. The volume of the business is huge. The volume of the business is huge. So who is the initiator? The initiator is going to be somebody who's going to be there. But let's assume the manufacturer of MiG aircrafts was also in the running. Now, who is going to be the gatekeeper? The user is going to say, no, sir, the MiG aircrafts keep falling and I have lost 13 of my colleagues while they were flying. So who became the gatekeeper? The gatekeeper became the user. In the case of Rafale, who was the influencer? Who was the influencer?
Gatekeeper.
It was the prime minister or the president of France who said, sir, please buy my product. And imagine if we were comparing it with some other thing. Maybe Donald Trump would be trying to sell his product, or maybe they did try at some point. So you don't know who is going to be the influencer, who is going to be the thing. So it's very, very complex processes. And higher the volume, the less number of people that are going to buy it. And then imagine the kind of war for that kind of a business. So that is what it is. Okay. Then again, B2B is need based. Some of them want it because they want a price focus. If I want to provide coffee for my office, I don't really care for my employees. I would say sasta wala coffee leke aa jao. But if I want to buy a product which is going to sit inside my equipment, then I might become quality conscious. I might be willing to buy from somebody who's going to be a partner with me, not just charge me for the business. So even the B2B process is need-based. Sometimes it is good, sometimes it is bad. Then again, personal relationships, I'm saying all the time, business only happens in a B2B business because it's personal relationship. That's why people have to travel, people have to meet them. You have to have a relationship between the buyer and the seller. That happens. Lastly, B2B business are long term, a very, very, very long term. Once you make a sale, the business is very, very long term. Now, in the kind of business that I am in, we provide satellite capacity for users. Obviously, I'm not in the B2C segment, whereas my customer is in a B2C. They provide television channels and DTH services to the customer, to the consumer. But my relationship is B2B, and normally contracts run for 10 years. Normally contracts run for 5 years. Normally contracts run for, there's another terminology which is called end of life. That means that the contract between myself and the company, the B2B thing, is till the end of the life of the satellite. Now look at this. Once I do a business, that's it for the rest of the life of the satellite, and satellites normally don't fail if they are up. The biggest risk in satellite business is launch. If you have a successful launch, most of the satellite companies stay alive, or most of the satellites stay alive. So imagine the kind of fight that happens to get the business, because once you close the deal for the next 10, 15 years, typical satellites have a life of 15 or 16 years, life is done. So that is the longer part of it, is that business to business is long term. One other thing is B2B markets are less innovation. There is no innovation that happens. In customer markets, innovation happens all the time. I add a third camera to the mobile. I had something else to the mobile. I provide Ola Prime. All that is good, but they are constantly innovating. But in a B2B market, innovation is very, very slow. Innovation takes a very long time to happen because business is on a very limited scale. So that is what we wanted to share about. And again, business buyers are more demanding. They want to have very complex relationships. And business here could be derivative, inelastic, joint, or fluctuating. I'll probably take that up in the next class. But I just have one more thing that I wanted to complete is, yes, I wanted to complete one more thing is that any buying in a B2B environment has three parts. Now remember, there's going to be something that you will have to look at it in the case study. That's why I skipped those pages. There are three ways in which buying happens. It's called straight buy, modified rebuy, and new task. What is straight buy? I've always been buying from this guy for this particular product. I want to buy some more. I just order. Simple as that. Because the supplier has already been qualified, we have already using his components into the business. It's very simple. All the approvals have been done. We do a straight rebuy. That means that they've always been buying bulbs for the car from one manufacturer. They just, anybody in the entire cycle can just pick up the phone and ask for more supplies because the supplier is qualified, price has been negotiated, everything is done. So straight rebuy is the easiest thing. Modified rebuy it's almost the same component, but we are doing some basic changes to it. In which case, there could be a price change, in which case there could be a specification change. But you already have a relationship with the seller or the supplier. You know how the supplier is, you know the quality that they supply. So that becomes what is called a modified rebuy. Finally, you want to buy something totally new absolutely new. This is a new task requirement. Okay. So now my question to you is that if you're not doing business with a company, which opportunity is the best way to enter into that company? Straight rebuy, modified rebuy, or new task?
Task.
New task, right? Because new task gives you an opportunity to make an entry into that market. That is why if you have to look at the case study, it will give you some understanding of how company A will try to make an entry into new task. So that's all about the subject of B2B marketing. Again, here, as you can see, price is of least importance in terms of the base value. Quality is what matters, because if the price of the product goes up by 3 rupees, I can increase the price of my final product as well. So that is what the story of B2B marketing is. I am done for today. I'm just wondering if you have any questions, and we can then discuss about it before we close down. All done? Good. Absolutely fine.
Waiting for the case study in the LMS, Professor. Once we
Yeah. Go have a look at the case study. There's also, what is this? There's also a KOL in the buying process. Srinivasan, can you explain that? Oh, he's not there, I guess. Okay, perfect. So all the best to you on your assignment 2. And when we meet up 2 weeks later, we will discuss another very important parameter, which is pricing. And then we will go into other subjects of discussion. Take it forward.
So when can we get these PPTs for reference?
Pardon?
When can we get these PPTs for reference? You will be uploading it to LMS?
Yeah, should be. If not today, definitely tomorrow.
Okay, so that would help.
Okay.
Professor, this is Rajat here from Group 4. So the assignments which we submitted, I'm talking about the assignment 1, which we submitted. The grading and all, we'll be knowing about the grading thing at the end of the course directly, or how is it? Or will be not knowing the grading?
No. I'm almost done with grading you all internally. That means to say, I have, if you can break into my computer, you might know your marks. I've already, most of it, because I've still not done two groups yet. So once I've graded all of you, then my life becomes a little tough after that, is that I'll have to also, if for example, Rajat, I'm taking you as the example. If for some strange reason I'm not happy with the way what you have done, I'll also like to see how you have answered on the Google Forms and do some correlation between the two, and then award you the final marks. So no later than Sunday, Monday, you should have your marks.
Okay, Professor. And depending on the thing which you have done, will you get any feedback for improvements?
I'll not be giving feedback to everybody. Complete the sentence. No news is
good news.
Okay, so there you go. If you don't hear from me, chill out. Don't bother. If you hear from me, news is always not bad news anyway. So if you hear from me, I might even say, Rajat, there's a pat on your back, man. Good job done. Or I might say, listen, why were you a little hesitant? Are you camera shy or something? So I might just give a very, very, very select people, extremely select set of people I might want to comment about. Otherwise, I'll not be. If you're going forward, why bother, right?
Yes, thank you, Professor.
Okay, good.
Professor, once your evaluation is done, so how we will be communicated, is it some Communication will
It will
receive
be displayed on the screen there on the bottom of that page. You will get the
In the
link.
LMS.
Yeah, same
on
page.
the LMS. Oh,
Yes.
I think the moment I upload, the very moment I upload, I think there is for the professor, there is one which says communicate the marks or something like that, which is auto ticked aside. So the moment I do it, that's the reason why I'm not uploading to the LMS the moment I have seen your presentation, because between presentation of group 1 and group 2, I may take a couple of hours. In between, I'll also have my work to do. So I'm all uploading them on a single Excel sheet, and slowly I'll do them one shot as such. So you will automatically get to know the moment I've done that. Yeah. Okay.
thank you, sir.
Okay. Thanks everybody, and have a good day.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Professor.
sir.
Have a
Thank you,
great
sir.
day.
Thank you.
Goodbye.